Good morning, YouTube. It is January the 11th, 2017, and I am going to show you today how I make banana bread. We've been snowed in now for 4 days. It's starting to melt off now. And I had some bananas that were, some people would think that they were probably beyond redemption. The peels were getting quite brown, black. But the meat inside is sweet and tender and very good for making banana bread. The recipe that I'm going to be using is from one of my favorite cookbooks. It is the Betty Crocker's Cookbook. Get it back here where y'all can see a little bit. The Betty Crocker Cookbook. And the copyright on this is 1984. So I've had this for quite a while. The recipe is on page 203, and what this book has done is that it does like categories, and then it breaks it down into different ways of using the category. So for instance, right here it's saying nut bread, and it gives all the instructions for doing nut bread. And then over here it says if you want to do apricot, banana, cherry, cranberry, cheese, date, or whole wheat. And the one that I'm going to be using is the banana nut bread. So it tells me how to take this main recipe here and to break it down to where I can use it for the banana nut bread. Now, we will not be putting nuts in ours today, and it does say here to use 1 cup of chopped nuts. But Ambee doesn't like finding hidden nuts in her food, so we're going to admit that today. It does say for me to heat my oven to 350 degrees and to get my pans greased. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and lay out the ingredients, and then I'm going to show you how I make the bread. Okay, first of all, I have in my sifter 2½ cups of flour, just regular all-purpose flour, with 3½ teaspoons of baking powder on the top, and we're going to sift that together. I have 3 tablespoons of oil. I have 2½ bananas that have been mashed well. These are the bananas, like I said, their skins were practically black, but they were perfect for mashing up to make this. I have a 1/2 cup of regular white sugar, and I have a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And the way I made my brown sugar was I took the white sugar and I put in a little bit of molasses and mixed that together until I got it to be the color that I wanted it to be. So the only thing that you need to make brown sugar is white sugar with molasses. You could also use sorghum, but I happen to have molasses at this point. I have 1 of our eggs that have come from our chickens this morning, and it has been washed and dried and is ready to go. And I have from our cow 1/3 cup of milk, and that's all of our ingredients.
Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do first is we've got our flour, and I've got this in our sifter. I've got 2½ cups of flour and 3½ teaspoons of baking powder. And we're going to put those all together first. And we're down to where there's like lumps. Can you see that in there?
Yes.
And I'm just going to leave those. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add my sugar. My brown sugar. And I need to go get some salt.
And it's me.
And we're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so that's all of our dry ingredients in there.
If you're wondering who's doing the filming, it's baby girl.
Okay, so we're going to take and we're going to mush this all together.
That's it.
Are you seeing inside the bowl okay, Ambee?
Yes.
So we're going to mush this all together where we can't tell where one starts and the other one stops, making sure that I've broken up any lumps that I might have in my brown sugar. The flour is very soft at this point. Okay.
There's a lump towards the bottom, it looks like in the middle.
We'll probably get that when we mix the rest of it up.
Okay. I
Okay.
think we got it.
Okay, good job. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding my wet stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crack my egg.
For more chickens. Or you can use store-bought.
Put my oil in. And add the milk.
And what are we making today, Mom?
We are making banana nut bread without the nuts because you don't like the nuts in it. And I've already done a preview on this before I went and got you.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of getting some of this in here. And now I'm going to take these very, very smashed bananas.
Are they from the bananas that were from the counter?
Yeah, the ones that were very black.
Very ripe.
Which is exactly what we were wanting them to do.
Okay.
So nothing will be wasted here on those bananas. So the bananas are going into the bread and the peels will go into the compost pile. The eggshell that we just had that came from our chickens will go back to the chickens.
Crushed up. That way I'll have the calcium for eggshells in the future.
So get this all mixed in here. I'll kind of take and scrape it along the sides and then put it into the middle and squish it back. This is because it's kind of a stiff dough. When it first starts. Okay, just about got everything mixed in here. And I like using a spatula to do this, to mix it in, because that way I can really scrape the bottom, get that little bit of flour that's on the bottom and on the sides in there. Okay, now I'm going to take and mix this, move this over to get our baking pan. And I'm going to pour this into our baking pan. I guess it's a pretty thick dough.
And it goes
Or batter, I guess you'd call it. I say, Ambee and I have been snowed in now for 4 days, Ambee. We had church was canceled.
Bible study was canceled for today.
And we were going to volunteer at the food pantry on Monday, and that was canceled.
And also, we don't know if our road's clear enough to even drive on. In other words.
Now we're going to have to figure out some way of getting to the feed mill.
Yeah, because we're low on feed.
And we got to take care of our animals. Nobody else gets taken care of. The animals get taken care of. Okay, my hands are meticulously cleaned. If there's any spots or anything like that, they are stains and won't come out.
And yes, that's how it is.
Okay, so I'm going to make this look kind of pretty. Kind of spread it in there. We do still have a few lumps of brown sugar in there, but that's okay. That'll just be a little surprise bite.
Be like an extra boost of energy.
Okay. So you want to pause that for me for a second, Ambee? So what we've got going now is that we're at our oven. And one of the first things that I need to do is I need to make sure that I'm at 350 degrees and I'm over. I'm at 400 and something right now in our firebox. I'm going to go ahead and slide this in. And what we'll need to do is we'll need to open the door for a few minutes. Can you see where that's right here? And it says it's a little bit over 400 degrees. So we need to calm that. We need to calm the oven down a little bit. So I'm going to crack the door. I wanted to show y'all how big this firebox is in here. Can you see that, Ambee? Ooh, that is hot.
Yes, and yeah, I can tell the heat.
It is very hot. So get that one. So what we're doing at this point is that we are making banana nut bread. We have hot water going for me to get ready to start mopping the floor and cleaning the floor. We have in this pot right here, we have a ham bone that I have got water in, and we are boiling it down to where we can start to make some soup from a ham bone with a little bit of ham on it. And we have our fan going that runs with no electricity, and that is also heating the house. So at this time, we're doing a lot of things with the wood stove. Okay, pause.
Okay.
Okay, so the bread now has baked for 65 minutes. I started keeping a really close eye on it at 60 minutes because, as you know, the oven temperatures will vary depending on how hot the wood is, how much air is getting in there, how fast the wood burns down. The first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to take and I'm going to just drag a knife around the edge just to make sure that it's not sticking. And it seems like it's doing pretty good here. Have a couple little places that was wanting to clean. I then take a toothpick and I'm going to put the toothpick in the center. And when they tell you to test it with a toothpick, this is what they're meaning. They want it to be where it comes out and there's nothing, no dough, no wetness, no anything on the toothpick. So this bread is perfect. Perfect. Okay. So this is still just a little bit warm, but not much because I've been letting it sit out here and cool. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to flip it over. And I generally flip it over on the towel first. Look at this. It is perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect. And I'm going to cut off a piece for Ambee since she's been such a good camera person. Oh, cats don't eat banana bread.
Yeah,
look at this.
I knew a dog once that did, but it was only at a friend's house. And it
What
was
do you
only
think, Ambee? Does it look perfect?
Looks pretty good from here.
Do you want an end or a middle?
I'm thinking middle.
Okay, let me cut you another piece.
The dog
Crispy.
thing with Mishka. You'd only get it if it fell on the floor.
Okay. Pause.
Yes.
Okay, here's the true test. Here is baby girl, and she's going to try the banana bread. Okay, she hasn't fallen over dead yet, so it must be pretty good. That's a good way to use bananas that people would normally throw into the trash. And with just a few ingredients, have themselves a little bit of bread heaven. As always, thank you very much for coming to Blackberry Ridge. Subscribe to our channel. Please tell people about us. And Let them know what we're about. We ask that you pray for our country, and God bless America.